Well, no.
Okay.
Until then, I'm open.
All right.
And working.
Do you think all the information that you put out in the 5 or 6 books that you have out, in the 4 that you have still on your computer, do you think we understand that Islam is an African religion?
Oh yeah. That was a hard coming, but it's a done deal.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to kill time because our good brother Richard Shabazz, the scientist, on the you record. You good? All right. Good. All right.
Before I'm done, anybody will.
Oh, give thanks. We appreciate it. All right. Well, without further ado, y'all give a round of applause for Dr. Wesley Muhammad and True Islam Peace.
Peace, family. Peace. It's late. We'll get right into it. So we won't be here any longer than we need to. I had no intention of doing any intros for this family here I haven't seen in years, all these faces I haven't seen in years. So I'm about to get sentimental, and that's not a good look, especially
It's all right, brother.
before I'm about to do what I'm about to do. Few caveats before I begin. I know Valentine's Day is next week. And I'm not knocking anybody's hustle. But any bleeding heart romantic in here tonight, you will probably get your feelings hurt.
Come on.
Any Muslim
Come on.
who romanticize about Islam,
Go ahead.
you will likely get your feelings hurt.
Come on, brother.
Any chematologist, any student of chemistry or Maya, if you are inclined to romanticize about chemistry, you will likely get your feelings hurt
Come on,
tonight.
brother. Truth hurts. That's right.
I've been studying African history and culture for 20 years now. And the one thing I learned is that when you deal with Africa, we deal with us.
Come on.
You got to take the good with the bad,
That's right.
with the ugly.
Come on.
Tonight, we're going to look at some of the good, some of the bad, and some of the ugly.
Come on.
Who is this? Anybody know?
Imitation.
Boy Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Bismillah in the name of Allah. Peace, family.
Hey.
Someone said King Tut.
King Tut.
In 2007, a worldwide King Tut exhibit was launched. It traveled to all the major museums on the planet. Its chief exhibit was a King Tut exhibit. And the chief artifact of the King Tut exhibit was this image, this model, this replica of King Tut. Which one is the light? The red light. Greg. Okay, there we go. This reconstructed bust of King Tut was the chief artifact of the King Tut exhibit. Now, this bust is the work of forensic scientists from Britain, France, and Egypt. The chief scientist, Zahi Hawass, who was formerly the minister of antiquities in Egypt, he led the team in the research that produced this bust. The bust was created based on a CT scan from Tut's mummy. Let's be real clear. CT scans give us a lot of information regarding the cranium of the subject. It gives absolutely no help in the flesh or the eyes. The decision to put white skin and hazel eyes on this bust did not result from any information derived from the CT scan. It was a purely arbitrary decision, but not so arbitrary. In fact, the CT scan gave them every reason to do otherwise. The CT scan actually indicated, according to Zahid Hawass, indicated that King Tut had an indigenous African cranium. Yet they produced a very non-African King Tut. Further, Zahid Hawass completed research on King Tut's ancestry. It was published in 2010, but he had completed the research by the time the exhibit went national. In this particular study, Hawass determined that King Tut was the grandson, and in his direct lineage was Akhenaten and Queen T. Akhenaten, a very African Egyptian. Queen T, a very African Egyptian. Hawass himself learned that King Tut was a direct descendant of these Africans. Yet, Hawass's team produced a very non-African King Tut. Now, King Tut's CT scan indicating he had an African cranium, and Hawass's research indicating King Tut was related to these very African Egyptians makes a lot of sense, because all of the objective scholarship today is real clear. As Professor Christopher Eric informs us, for some reason that quote isn't coming up. Africa, Egypt, dynastic Egypt in particular, originated from Southern Africa. It didn't originate from the East. It didn't originate from the Delta. Egypt was an African culture. All objective scholars bear witness to this. Yet, Zahid Hawass, the head of Egyptian antiquities at the time, he is no more. For reasons that are clear, after the revolution in Egypt, they kicked him out of there. Along with Mubarak, they kicked Zahid Hawass out of there. Zahid Hawass's study indicated that Tut had indigenous African lineage. But not only did he, Hawass, approve and spearhead the reconstructed bust that presented Tut as a Caucasian, but when the controversy over the exhibit erupted, and those in the know argued that that was not King Tut, that the Egyptians were an African people and King Tut was an African, Zahid Hawass had the audacity to say Tutankhamun was not black, and the portrayal of African Egyptian civilization as black has no element of truth. Ancient Egyptians are not Arabs and are not Africans, despite the fact that Egypt is in Africa. Why do I open with Zahid Hawass and the King Tut bust? Egypt was and still is the darling of white supremacy.
That's right. Yes, sir.
White folks drew inspiration through the greatness of Egypt. Egypt was for a long time for them the evident evidence of their cultural and civilizational greatness. With the research that indicates that their only role in Egypt was in destroying Egypt, with the evidence, the irrefutable evidence that Egypt was an African civilization and in fact the testament of African greatness, with the research of Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Chikanta Diop, that stolen legacy has been reclaimed, but not without a fight. The point of this introduction is a reminder. White supremacy is a dog that dies hard, and it will not die without a fight. It is, as Griff quoted, it is a matter of genetic survival. So white supremacy fights, and white supremacy fights hard. It doesn't just lay down. And this is an example, modern example of white supremacy fighting back. How is that related to my subject? We give Zahi Hawaz, as my 12-year-old daughter and 9-year-old son are often inclined to tell me, epic fail. Zahi Hawaz is an epic fail. But the point of this introduction is this. I have for the last 2 years gone around the country documenting and demonstrating that Islam, no less than Maat, is an African religion.
Come on.
You know what I said?
Come on. Right.
By which I mean, I have demonstrated, Islam was founded not by white folk,
Come on now.
white Arabs, or white Europeans. Islam was founded by Africans in Arabia. Islam was spread from one end of the earth to the other
Come on now.
by Africans in Arabia
Come on.
who had indigenized in Arabia. Those who founded Islam and spread Islam look like this. They look like this. They look like this. They look like this.
Come on. Come
They
on.
look like this.
Come on, man. That's right.
These are the people who founded Islam and spread it to the corners of the earth. They did not look like King Abdullah, the king of Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
He too gets an epic fail. I'm not going to document that tonight because I had 3 debates. I debated your barbers, your doctors, your captains. Live debates, blog talk debates.
Come on, beloved.
Not a single person, regardless of their qualification, regardless of how much medunectar they can dissect on the screen, not a single person can disprove or disqualify or impeach the evidence. It is overwhelming. So I have fallen back from debating because those debates have been with black folks, Afrocentrics. There's an irony there. The agenda of Afrocentricity is to reclaim all that white folks have stolen.
Come on, beloved.
All of Africa's stolen legacies, the agenda of Afrocentricity is to reclaim them.
Come on, beloved.
Reclaiming Egypt, our greatest success story. Islam is Africa's other stolen legacy.
Come on.
So why I would be debating Afrocentrists on whether Islam is African or not? After the third one, I sat down and I had to reflect on it. It really didn't make any sense to me. As expected, white supremacy
That's right.
has stepped up.
That's your fight.
That's right.
Because Islam has become like Christianity, and for a time being like Egypt, has become a handmaiden of white supremacy.
That's right.
And those who have benefited from white supremacy in Islam
Come on.
have come out their cage now. And so I'm engaging them in this debate. And so my request, I recognize some faces in here, a lot I don't. If you have come to argue the point, stand down. I'm respectfully asking you and all black folks who want to argue the point,
Come on.
stand down.
Yeah.
You getting in the way
Yeah.
of the real fight
Yeah.
with white supremacy.
Come on. That's right.
You would do better to help me,
Come on, beloved.
because the fight is against white supremacy.
That's right.
And I am invested in deconstructing the white supremacy that has taken and planted itself in Islam.
Come on.
You would do better to help me. But if you are not so inclined to help me, then just get the hell out the way.
Come on, brother. That's
African religion, because I have. You can go on my VMO page, my Vimeo page, see the debates, all of them are available for public viewing. I put the evidences in my books, Black Arabia, and my new Black Arabia and the African Origin of Islam. And in my new book, Bilad of Sudan, Essays on Islam, Africa, and Afrocentricity.
Come on.
On my Facebook pages, the notes are there. So all of the evidences are out there. If you are still in denial, refer to the material, and then if you still want to argue the point, then email some of these white folks that I'm engaged with and help them out. If you want to be a winning accomplice of white supremacy, then you go ahead.
Come on.
As of right now, you are unwitting accomplice of white supremacy. But whether you are winning or unwitting, you're an accomplice of white supremacy.
That's right.
As Egypt was the darling of white supremacy in the Western world, Egypt has been the historicist darling of white supremacy. This white Jesus, the darling of white supremacy. And this white Muhammad,
Come on.
the darling of white supremacy in Islam. I have demonstrated that. I'm not going to go through the proofs. My objective is different tonight. But these are the icons, some of the icons of white supremacy.
All right.
My agenda is different tonight. I want to address a question that is frequently raised. I have said, and I say tonight, and I say it tomorrow, I say it with a mic in my face, or I say it with your gun in my face.
Come on, beloved. That's right. Come on, beloved.
Islam is as African a religion as my eye.
Come on.
Now that offends a lot of people.
Come on, man.
People who are endearing to my eyes. I am endearing to my eyes. I publicly say I'm a Muslim.
That's right.
You may not know. But I always say my Islam is my Adi Islam.
Come on, beloved. Yes, sir.
That other Islam, that non-Maat Islam, I ain't got nothing to do with that.
That's right.
Except from a deconstructionist perspective.
There you go.
My work is to deconstruct that other Islam. My Islam is my Islam. I'm going to deal with that in a minute because that disconcerts a lot of people too.
Come on, man.
They offended that I would juxtapose Islam and Maya. They want to believe that Maya is African and Islam is anti-African.
Come on.
That Islam is a Johnny-come-lately derivative of Maya. And we're going to discuss or bust that myth tonight. So the question is, what is their relation? Dr. John Henry Clark, for example, and those who follow him, and I am a student of John Henry Clark as well. Student of Dr. Ben. Chicken Diop. But what I am not to any of them is what we call in Arabic Muqallid. Muqallid is one who practices what in Arabic is called taqlid. Taqlid is blind deference
Come on.
to an authority. Taqlid is to give unquestioning assent to a person of knowledge. What they say, you accept it. You have no right to critically analyze their conclusions in the process by which they reach their conclusions. And see, I'm no Muqallid. I'm not a Muqallid to John Henry Clark. You know, I don't give blind deference to John Henry Clark.
Come on.
I don't give blind deference to Dr. Ben. The Islam of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad runs through my veins.
Teach. Yes, sir.
I don't give blind deference to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
My work is a testament of that. I ain't got to get into it. Muslims, that some of y'all feelings going to get hurt too.
Right, right.
Black Muslims.
Speak, Wesley.
Teach on that.
Speak.
Dr. Clark said Islam was a copycat religion. A carbon copy of Maya. I respectfully disagree with Dr. Clark.
Take your time.
The relation of Islam and Maya, as my work is demonstrating, is not parent to child. It's not copy to original. The relationship of Maya and Islam is that of two fruits, two distinct fruits from the African tree of spirituality.
Come on, beloved.
Break it down.
As two brothers are distinct fruits
That's right.
from their mama and daddy,
That's right.
Islam and Maya are two distinct fruits from the African tree of spirituality. We're going to detail that. Now, to do so, I have to get into some nuts and bolts stuff. You know, I'm an academic, for better or for worse. I'm a professional academic.